very good afternoon, Eswatini, and welcome to your favorite tele-education program, Home Study. My name is Lerato Mabilisa, and joining me in the studio is your woman crush every day, Nogwazi Dlamini. A very good afternoon, Nogwazi.
A very good afternoon, Lerato, and of course, a very good afternoon to our viewers at home. Yes, it's your woman crush every day, Nogwazi Dlamini and Lerato Mabilisa, joining you for Home Study on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and I'm feeling warm, as you can see.
Definitely, it is a very, very cold day today, as it has been since the beginning of the week. But that will not stop us from doing our learning every single day. So everyone back at home, this is what your Wednesday looks like today. From now until 2:30 p.m. we have expressive art for the grades 1 and 2s. From 2:30 p.m. until 3 p.m. we have religious education for grades 3 and 4. From 3 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. we have social studies for the grade 3s and 4. From 3:30 p.m. until 4 p.m. we have additional mathematics for Form 1 and 2. From 4 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. we have mathematics for the Form 4s. And the last subject for the day is physics for the Form 4s from 4:30 p.m. until 5 p.m.
Dear viewer at home, just a quick reminder that we have social media platforms, which are YouTube and Facebook, where we are live from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. And do not forget to click that subscribe button so that whenever we are live, you get a notification. We also have a WhatsApp number which pops up from time to time on your screen, where you can send questions which are as relevant as possible.
Yes, of course. Without wasting any time, after the break, we have expressive art for the grades 1 and 2 with teacher Petunia Tabetse, and the topic today is lines. Lerato will be right back with you guys after this infomercial.
Eswatini, your favorite show, is back. The Spotlight Season 2 returns with an exciting new twist. We are taking the kingdom's #1 music talent search digital. One lucky way in a brand new Kia Picanto, get a recording deal, and walk away with fantastic prizes, including a trendy Huawei P40 Pro. This year, the application process has been made better, easier, and brighter. To apply, simply follow the application process on the Spotlight and MTN Eswatini social media platforms. And remember to download the Ayoba and Music Time apps on your mobile device to complete your registration into the Spotlight Season 2. Visit yellowhub.co.sz/the spotlight/apply. The audition dates are as follows: Manzini, 26th September to the 1st of October. Shiselweni, the 3rd to the 8th of October. Hoho, 10th to the 15th of October. Lubombo, 17th to the 22nd of October. Shine bright like the star that you are on the Spotlight Season 2.
Why should we pay our TV license?
The content on our local television is actually more up to date. The industry is enhanced.
It is a criminal offense not to pay your TV license and attracts a fine of 500 emalangeni or 6 months imprisonment.
And the industry is definitely blooming, ladies and gentlemen, so that's what we have for you. But we'll be right back just after the break, and we'll give you more of Miss V.
Pay my TV license. That's why I can enjoy the benefits of an enhanced industry and keep track with recent transformation.
money? Who paid for a TV license and what are they paying for?
The owners of TV set and a gadget with a tuner like DVD set have to pay.
Pay your TV license at NetBank with the details provided on screen. Or use your cell phone via the mobile money pay. You could also visit your nearest post office and pay there. Pay your TV license via Eswatini Mobile Imali. Any TV device retailer can purchase a license to trade. Pay your TV license and enhance the industry.
A very good afternoon and welcome back to your favorite teleeducation program. My name is Lirato Mabilisa and joining me in the studio is the grade 1 and 2 expressive arts teacher Petunia, and the sign language interpreter Nomcebo Dlamini. A very good afternoon, teacher.
Afternoon, Lirato.
How are you today?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. So today's topic in expressive arts is lines.
Yes.
What would you expect the grade 1s and 2s to have learned by the end of the lesson?
By the end of the lesson, my dear Lena can be able to name the types of lines, also to draw the types of lines.
Okay. Without wasting any time, please begin your lesson.
Good afternoon, Lena at home. With you today is Petunia Tsabetse. Time for expressive arts, grade 2. Good afternoon, Lena. Time for expressive art, grade 2. With you today is Petunia Tsabetse. Our lesson for today, we're learning about lines. Let's start. Now, what you will need in this lesson, you will need a pencil, an eraser, a drawing book, a charcoal, which we call it lilahle, crayons, and the pupil's workbook. By the end of the lesson, my dear Lena, you should be able to name types of lines, draw types of lines. Now, let's look at these pictures that are shown. There's an animal, which is a zebra, a leaf, which is a part of a plant, a sink, and a hotel. These pictures are different from each other, but only one thing common about it. They all have lines. What is a line? What is a line? A line is a path covered by a distance between 2 points. A line is a path covered by a distance between 2 points. Now take out your pencil and a drawing book, my dear Lena. Draw, just make a dot and write 1 and another dot and label it 2. Now let's join the 2 dots. What you have drawn now, my dear Lena, it's a line. What you have drawn is a line. Line can be broken or continuous. Line can be broken or continuous. Broken line are the lines are short lines that have some spaces in between. Broken line are short lines that have some spaces in between. Continuous line are drawn in one movement from the starting point to the finishing point without lifting up your drawing tool. Let's continue, my dear Lena. Now let's look types of lines. Types of lines. Line number 1 is a horizontal line. Horizontal line. When drawing a horizontal line, you start from the left of your paper to the right. You start from the left of your paper to the right. Horizontal lines goes across the paper. Now let's look vertical lines, my lovely friends. Vertical lines. Vertical lines start from the top to the bottom of the paper. Vertical lines start from the top to the bottom of the paper, which means vertical lines goes downwards. Vertical lines goes downwards. Now, my dear learner, let's look another line, which is diagonal line. Diagonal line. If you draw a diagonal line, my lovely learner, you start from the right of the paper to the to the left. You slant. When drawing the line, you start from the right of the paper on top, and then you go downward. You slant. Let's continue, my lovely learner. Curved line. A curved line. A curved line, we say it's a curved line because it's curved here. It have a curve here. You can also draw a curved line starting from the left of your paper to the right, and then you curve. That's a curved line. Now let's look at scribbled line. Scribbled line. When drawing a scribbled line, you make some chaotic lines. You make chaotic lines, which means you make a makipilo show. That we call that line a scribbled line. Another line that we look at is a zigzag line. A zigzag line. When drawing a zigzag line, you can start from the left of your paper to the right. You go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You can also draw zigzag line downward. You start from the left to the right, left, right, left, right, left. Let's continue, my lovely learner. Another line, it's a spiral line. A spiral line. When you are drawing a spiral line, you start from the center, you go round, 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 round. That's we call it a spiral line. Now, my dear learner, lines are thick and thin. Lines are thick and thin depending to the drawing tool that you use. Now let's look the drawing tools that you can use when drawing thin lines. When drawing thin line, you can use a pencil, a coloring pencil, and a felt tip pen. You are drawing lines that are thin. Now let's look at when drawing thick lines. When drawing thick lines. When drawing thick lines, you can use a marker, a charcoal, a pen, and a paint. Sorry, my lovely learner. When drawing thick lines, you can use a marker, a charcoal, and a paint. Let's continue, my dear friend. Now, lines can be found everywhere. Lines can be found everywhere. You can find lines in nature. You can find lines in nature. Nature are things that were created by God. Nature are things that were created by God. Let's look at the first picture. Picture number 1. What's the name of that picture? Good. That's a rainbow. Look at the lines. Look at the colors of the rainbow. It got some lines. It's made out of lines. Now, let's go to picture number 2. Picture number 2 is a what? Good! Grass. Grass have some lines. Grass have some lines. Picture number 3. Picture number 3, it's a marvelous. It's a caterpillar. A caterpillar. Its markings have some lines. The caterpillar, its markings have some lines. Now, let's continue, my lovely Lena. Let's look lines in man-made things. Lines in man-made things. Man-made things are things that were made by people. People don't create, my lovely Lena, but they make. The first picture, what's the name of the first picture? That's a railway. A railway is made out of lines. That's why we call it a railway line. Picture number 2. What's the name of that picture? Good! A house. This is a house. House do have lines. House do have lines. Picture number 3. Yes! Road. A road. Roads are made out of lines. Roads are made out of lines. Just look at these white lines. These white lines are broken lines. These white lines are broken lines because they have some spaces in between. That's why we say are broken lines. Let's look this yellow line. This yellow line. This yellow line is a continuous line. It's a continuous line because it's drawn in one movement from the starting point to the finishing point without lifting up your drawing tool. Let's continue, my dear Lena. Now let's look lines in shadows. Shadows of poles can form lines. Shadows of poles can form lines. Let's look picture number 1. This is a pole. This is its shadow. The pole do have the lines. You can see the shadow here. Shadow of the lines. Which means shadows of such poles can form lines. Now let's go to picture number 2, which is a street light. This is a street light. This is its shadow. Picture number 3, it's a pole. If you can look the pole, my dear Lena, in front of the pole there is shadows. There are shadows. My dear Lena, let's continue. Sorry, my dear Lena. Now, in your book, page 1, we've got these pictures. If you don't have a book, my lovely Lena, don't stress yourself. The pictures that are in page 1 in your Lena's workbook I've brought for you. Now we'll be talking about lines that can, sorry my dear Lena, now we'll be talking about lines that were used in drawing those objects. From the left to the right, it's horizontal line. Horizontal line. From the top to the bottom, it's a vertical line. Vertical line. Now let's look at the second picture. The second picture is a building. Which lines were used when drawing the building? Yes. From the left to the right, vertical line. from the top to the bottom. Sorry, my dear Lena. From the left to the right, horizontal line. From the top to the bottom, vertical line. And then there is a line here. It's slant. We call it diagonal line. Now, let's move on to the third picture. Picture number 3. What's the name of that picture? Excellent. That's a ball. A ball. Which line is used when drawing that ball? They use curved line. They use curved line. Now, picture number 4. Picture number 4. It's a what? A flower. When drawing a flower, you use curved line. Curved line. Curved line. Curved line. Yes. Now, let's move on to the 5th picture. Picture number 5. That's a mountain. There is a fire on the mountain. Run, run, run. There is a fire on the mountain. Run, run, run. Yes, thank you, Lerato, for helping me. A mountain. When drawing a mountain, which type of line are we going to use? Excellent. Zigzag lines. Zigzag lines. Zigzag lines. Zigzag lines. The last picture, my dear Lena. Picture number 6. What's the name of that animal? A zebra. Just look its markings. Which line was used for its markings? Yes, a curved line. Curved line. Let's continue, my lovely Lena. Note that, dear Lena, a line, starting point and ending point do not meet. A line, starting point and ending point do not meet. Once they meet, a shape is formed. Once they meet, a shape is formed. Let I make an example for you. I've got a curved line and another curved line. Remember, my dear Lena, we said line starting point and ending point do not meet. Once they meet, a shape is formed. Now, let's make the starting point to meet. Draw. And the ending point to meet. Draw. Wow! What's the name of the shape? That's a heart. That's a heart. Another example, my lovely Lena. A curved line and another curved line. What's the name of that shape? A circle. A circle. Let's look at the pictures, my dear Lena. The first picture is a square. When drawing a square, you use horizontal line, vertical line, horizontal line. When drawing a circle, you use curved lines. When drawing a star, twinkle, twinkle, little star, you use zigzag lines. Zigzag line. What's the name of this shape? That's a triangle. When drawing a triangle, you will use a diagonal line, another diagonal line, and then a horizontal line. You are now in this shape. Which line are you going to use when drawing this shape? A curved line. You are going to use a curved line. That's a heart. Which line are you going to use when drawing a heart? We are going to use a curved line. A curved line. This is a free-form shape. When drawing a free-form shape, you also use a curved line. My dear learner, please join the dotted lines. If you do have your learner's workbook and color the shapes. If you don't have, take your drawing tool and your drawing book and then draw. In summary, we have been learning about types of lines. We said there is a scribbled line, horizontal line, diagonal, vertical, curved, zigzag, and spiral. We also learned that lines can be found in nature. We said nature are things that were created by God. You can also find lines in man-made things. Man-made things are things that were made by people. We also look at that lines can we also look at my dear learner, we also look at that shadows of such posts can form lines. Unfortunately, lastly, when lines meet, a shape is formed. When line meet, a shape is formed. This is where our lesson for today ends. Remember, my dear learner, to wash your hands using soap and running water. Wear your mask. That will cover your mouth and nose. Also, if you want to sneeze or cough, cover your mouth. Over to you, Nerat.
Thank you very much for such an interesting expressive arts lesson. We're hoping that you're going to come again and give us another interesting lesson.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Petunia. Up next is the grade 3 and 4 lesson. So if you are in grade 3 or 4, after this infomercial, you are going to be learning religious education. Grab a snack. We'll be right back after this infomercial.
Nesive lolu hlelo lwakho loliqhamuka khona embuthweni wembobe lolifundisa kabanti liphindze lixwayise zona phela sive ngathi indzaba ekuvikela bona kuqala. Thokotela uhlelo lwakho emaphoyisa nesive kuso sikhathi lesisha njalo ngabo lesine ngensimbi yesihlanu sihambama khona la Eswatini TV.
Welcome back, grade 3s and 4s. This is the second subject for today, and you are learning religious education with Ms. Duduzi Dlamini. My name is Lerato Mabilisa, and also joining me in the studio is the sign language interpreter Nompumelelo Hatebe. A very good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, Lerato.
How are you today?
I'm good, and you?
I'm alright. So, today's topic is God cares and protects people.
Yes.
What would you expect the grade 3s and 4s to have learned?
Okay, I expect them to have learned how God shows that He cares for and protects His people in relation to the Bible, of course.
Oh, okay. Without wasting any time, please begin your lesson.
Okay, afternoon, grade 4s. Okay, our topic for today is God cares for and protects people. Objectives. By the end of the lesson, you learner at home should be able to describe how God protected Moses, state how God shows that He cares for people, and the third one is state ways in which God shows that He protects people. Keywords, which are the words which you have to know the definition of, as they are going to be frequently used in our today's lesson. Okay, the first one is protect. We have to know as to what protect means. Then the second one is creation. It's caring. So we also have to know what is caring. And the third one is shepherd. We also have to be able to define the word shepherd so we can understand today's lesson. Okay, moving on to defining our keywords. To protect. What is to protect? To protect is to make sure that someone or something is not harmed, injured, or damaged. That is to protect. And the next keyword is caring. We also have to know what is caring. So what is caring? Caring means showing concern or kindness for others. Remember, caring means showing concern and kindness for others. As you can see in the picture, the man is reflecting kindness to the young boy over there by offering him slippers so he cannot walk barefooted. That is a very good sign of caring, dear learners at home. The next one is shepherd. We also have to know the meaning of the word shepherd. So what is a shepherd? A shepherd is a person who herds, feeds, or guards herds of sheep. Herds of sheep are many sheep. As you can see in the picture, there is the man, which means this man is a shepherd and he is surrounded by a herd of sheep. So this man is a shepherd. He is carrying a staff which helps him to herd the sheep. So, dear learners at home, we are learning today's lesson because we want to create an understanding of how God shows that He cares for and protects people in relation to the Bible. In the previous class, you learned that God created plants, animals, and humans. After creating all these, you have to know that God then had the responsibility of caring and protecting all that He created. In this lesson, we will learn about how God the pen.
Sorry, can we please take a quick infomercial? We'll be back after the break.
It is important every now and then to check, am I still in the receiving hand of God, or am I in the receiving hand of the lies from the enemy?
Salvation is free because Christ paid for everything, and that's true. But discipleship will cost you everything.
Love each other as if your life depends on it. as a canvas reflects the nature of a personality or an artist, so creation teaches us about who God is.
We are made great by becoming small. We are exalted when we're humble.
Okay, sorry for the disturbance, dear learners at home. As I was saying, in this lesson we will learn about how God cares for and protects people or humans, which are you and me, learners at home. Take for instance, your parents buy you a puppy, which means the puppy will be yours. This means that the puppy will be under your care and protection. So the big question is, how would you care for the puppy? This is you and this is your puppy. Most would respond by saying, I would make sure that the puppy is protected, which means it would be free from danger or harm. Others would say, I would make sure that the puppy has food every day. Others would say, I would make sure that the puppy is healthy and happy. Samest applies to how we reflect to God. Because God created us humans, which is you and me, dear learners at home, God has the responsibility to care and protect us. So in this lesson, we are going to learn how God cares for and protects his people, which is you, dear learners at home, and me. Moving on to how God cared for and protected baby Moses. Using our reference, Exodus 2 verse 1 up to 10. Before we continue, let me brief you about the story of Moses, dear learners at home. Moses was a Hebrew baby. Hebrews were slaves in Egypt. Pharaoh was the king of Egypt. Pharaoh had demanded that all Hebrew baby boys were to be killed. Moses' mother didn't want Moses to be killed, so she decided to hide Moses. By doing so, she took Moses and placed him in a basket and hid him on the Nile River in the reeds. Then she demanded that Miriam, who was Moses' sister, look after Moses while Moses was hidden in the reeds. Sooner, one of the Pharaoh's daughter went to the Nile River to take a bath. While she was taking a bath, she saw a basket hidden in the reeds. Then she demanded one of her female slaves to fetch the basket for her. When Pharaoh's daughter opened the basket, she saw a handsome Hebrew baby boy named Moses, and she felt pity for him. Miriam quickly came forward and insisted on finding a Hebrew woman who would look after Moses. Pharaoh's daughter agreed. Miriam went to fetch Moses' mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter insisted that Moses' mother looks after Moses until Moses was grown. So Moses' mother was the one to look after Moses or nurse him. When Moses was grown, Moses' mother returned Moses to the Pharaoh's palace, where Moses grew up as a prince, being the son of Pharaoh's daughter. Okay, now let us move on to discuss how God cared for and protected baby Moses, making reference to Exodus 2 verse 1 up to 10. So the first point is, God gave Moses' mother the idea to hide Moses in a basket on the Nile River. As you can see in the picture, this is Moses' mother. This is a basket with Moses in it. As you can see, Moses' mother is carrying Moses to hide him in the reeds on the Nile River. The second point is, God let Moses' own sister Miriam to look after Moses while he was in the reeds. As you can see in the picture, dear learners at home, this is Miriam and this is Moses. So Miriam was given an instruction to look after Moses while in the reeds. The third point, God protected Moses by sending Pharaoh's daughter to find Moses. As you can see in the picture, dear learners at home, this is Pharaoh's daughter, and this is Moses, and this is one of the female slaves whom Pharaoh's daughter had sent to fetch the basket. Also, God allowed Moses' mother to look after Moses, or God allowed Moses' mother to nurse Moses. As you can see in the picture, there is the mother of Moses, and she is carrying Moses, made possible by God. And the last point, God provided Moses with an important family where he grew up safely. So as we all know, Moses grew up at the Pharaoh's palace, but he was Hebrew. How was that possible? Because Hebrews were slaves in Egypt. It is God who made it possible. So if God was able to protect Moses, it means that he is able to care and protect you and me, learners at home. Okay, moving on, let us look at Psalms 23, which involves a poetic stanza which was written by David, who was king of Israel. As we all know, David was once a shepherd. In this poetic stanza, David reflected as God as a shepherd. So let us find out what Moses wrote. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, a staff, it was the stick-like object which the man surrounded by sheep was carrying. That's a staff, not a stick. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me in all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now, let us look at how God shows that he cares for people, which is you and me, dear learners at home. We are God's people. So now let us look at how God shows that he cares for and protects people. Making reference to Psalms 23, which is the poetic stanza we've just read. The first point of how God shows that he cares for people is God provides people with everything they need. We got this from the stanza which says, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters, which means God provides people with everything they need. Moving on to the second point. God heals our minds, emotions, renewing and strengthening our lives, which means when we are stressed, it is God who distresses us. He makes us calm. It is God's ways, it is God's doing. So we got this from the stanza which reads, He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake, which means God heals our minds and emotions, renewing and strengthening our lives. The third one is God protects us. That is how God shows that he cares for us. God protects us because he cares. We got this from the stanza which reads, Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Which the staff is the stick-like object I showed you in the picture, which David used as something that God uses to take good care of us, dear learners at home. Then the last point on how God cares for people is God blesses us. God blesses us because he cares. We got this from the stanza which reads, Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That is how God cares for us as humans, dear learners at home. Moving on to how God protects us, because it is God who is also responsible to protect us, as he is the one who created us. God is our creator. So ways in which God shows that he protects people. We are also going to make reference of Psalms 23. So the first point on how God protects us is God is a good shepherd who looks after people. I repeat, God is a good shepherd who looks after people. We got this from the stanza which reads, The Lord is my shepherd. So that is how God protects us. He looks after us. So the second point is God is always with us, which means as you are seated and watching our today's lesson, God is with you at home. God is always with us because he is responsible of protecting us, dear learners at home. We got this from the stanza which reads, Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So, to test our knowledge, if we were listening to today's lesson, I have for you questions, which we have to answer. The first question reads, Who cared for and protected Moses? Who cared for and protected Moses? You should be thinking. Yes, dear learners at home, God cared for, it is God. God cared for and protected Moses. So it is God who cared for and protected Moses. It is God who gave Moses' mother the idea to hide Moses in the reeds. It is God who made it possible for Miriam to look after Moses while in the reeds. It is God who made it possible for Pharaoh's daughter to go to the Nile River to take a bath. And it is God who made it possible for Moses to grow up in an important family. That you should know. The second question reads, List 3 ways in which God cares for people. 3 ways in which God cares for people. Yes, dear learners at home. The 3 ways in which God cares for people. 1, God provides people with everything they need. The second one, God blesses people. The third one, God protects people. He is responsible of protecting us. The third question reads, Explain why God cares for and protects people. Why does God care for and protect people? Why does he protect us? Good, dear learners at home. God cares for and protects people because he loves them. So God protects and cares for us because he loves you and me. So the last question reads, If you were Moses, says mother, would you have hid Moses in the river? Support your answer. Would you have hid Moses in the reeds? There are 2 possible answers in this question. There's a yes and there's a no. Very good, dear learners at home. The first possible answer is, one would say yes, because I wouldn't want my baby boy to be killed by Pharaoh. So if you were Moses' mother, you would have hidden Moses in the reeds because you wouldn't want Pharaoh to kill Moses, as Pharaoh had demanded that all Hebrew baby boys were to be killed. The second possible answer to this question is no. Because in the river, baby Moses will have been bitten by snakes or eaten by crocodiles. We all know that in the river there are crocodiles and there are snakes. So the crocodile was capable of eating Moses while he was in the reeds. And snakes were also capable of biting him. But God prevented all that from happening, which means God is a protector and he cares. Dear learners at home, in this lesson, I hope that you have learned that God cared for and protected Moses. It is God who cared for and protected Moses. That you should master. You should also have learned that God shows that he cares for people by providing people with everything they need. That's one. Protecting them. That's two. And also blessing people. You should know that if you receive a blessing, it is from God. Then you also have learned that God cares for and protects people because he loves them. If God didn't love us, he wouldn't have protected us. He wouldn't have cared. But because God is our creator, he cares and he is responsible of protecting us daily, dear learners at home. You should also have learned that God protects people in many ways. It is many ways. God is responsible of protecting you. So he protects you in many ways. It is not your father, it is not your mother, it is not your sister or your brother. If they do protect you, it's through God. It is God who protects you. God is your protector. So you should have known that God protects people in many ways, such as looking after them, always being around them, etc. Which means there are many things that God does to protect you as human or as his people. I am sure that you have mastered all the objectives, dear learners at home. Keep safe and keep well. That's the end of the lesson, Lerato.
Thank you very much for today's lesson. It was very intriguing, and I'm hoping that you're going to come again next time.
Thank you.
Okay. Grade 3s and 4s, grade 5s and 6s, sorry, do not go anywhere because I will be back with your teacher after this infomercial.
Eswatini, your favorite show, is back. The Spotlight Season 2 returns with an exciting new twist. We are taking the kingdom's #1 music talent search digital. One lucky winner will drive away in a brand new Kia Picanto, get a recording deal, and walk away with fantastic prizes, including a trendy Huawei P40 Pro. This year, the application process has been made better, easier, and brighter. To apply, simply follow the application process on the Spotlight and MTN Eswatini social media platforms. And remember to download the Ayoba and Music Time apps on your mobile device to complete your registration into the Spotlight Season 2. Visit yellowhub.co.sz/the spotlight/apply. The audition dates are as follows. Manzini, 26th September to the 1st of October. Shisalweni, the 3rd to the 8th of October. Hoho, 10th to the 15th of October. Lubombo, 17th to the 22nd of October. Shine bright like the star that you are on the Spotlight Season 2.
insimbi yokuqeda i-HIV kanye namalalenkeni.
Etindzabeni kubika Phuma Msweli ngisemsahwe.
Government of Eswatini TV ngilingithini khule ngambonga Dube. Stemba bye.
Welcome back, grade 3s and 4s. Sorry, it's not grade 5s and 6s, it is grade 3s and 4s. We are back for the third lesson for today, and you are learning social studies with teacher Nondogozo Dlamini. My name is Lerato Mabilisa, and also joining me in the studio is the sign language interpreter Nomcebo Dlamini. A very good afternoon, teacher.
Afternoon, Lerato. How are you?
I'm alright. How are you today?
I'm very good.
I'm good too. So today's topic is historical places and people in the history of Eswatini.
Yes, Lerato. Today we'll be talking about the historical places in the history of Swaziland.
Okay. Yes. What do you expect the viewer to have learned by the end of the lesson?
By the end of today's lesson, I expect the learner to identify the different places of historical places of Swaziland. Also, to state the importance of these places. Lastly, to complete a timeline.
Okay, without wasting any time, please begin your lesson.
Okay, dear learner, I'm teaching you about these places so that you understand the importance of these places of Eswatini. We are going to start with the keywords. These are the words that we are going to come across in today's lesson. The first one is historical place. This is a place that is famous or important because of its association with the people and events in history. The second one is monument. A monument is a building or statue made to remember a person or event. Missionary. A missionary is a person who leaves his or her country to another country to promote his religion. In Eswatini, we have places and buildings that are special in the history of Eswatini. We usually visit these places. So we are going to start with the rock paintings. Dear learner, as you can see, we are having a rock. On the rock, there are paintings. In these paintings, we see animals and people. The importance of these rock paintings is that they show us how people long ago lived in Eswatini. The Sun, who lived thousands of years ago, did the paintings on these rocks. The paintings show that the Sun hunted wild animals, and also they show the dances that the Sun did. Here are the places where we can find the rock paintings in Swaziland. As you can see, this sign, dear learner, it shows or it represents places where we can find these rock paintings. As you can see, my dear learner, here at Mahamba Mountains, there are rock paintings. If you move on to the top you find Mbulungeni Hills. In the northern part of Swaziland, near Pikes Peak, dear Lena, there is Nsangweni rock paintings. Next to Mbabane, we have Mtsimba Hills. Also, we have Madlange Mbisi. The second one, my dear Lena, is the Mahamba John Wesley Methodist Church. One may ask, why is it important to mention this church? What is so special about this church? My dear Lena, we should know that this is the first church that was built in Eswatini by the members of the John Wesley Methodist Church. The Methodists were the first missionaries to come to Eswatini. King Mswati III, dear Lena, remember not King Mswati the third. I'm sorry, King Mswati the first, not King Mswati the third, gave these missionaries to a place to stay at Mahamba. My dear Lena, there were many missionaries who came to Eswatini besides the Methodist missionaries. Remember, King Mswati the first gave these missionaries a place to stay at Mahamba. Mahamba is found in the Shiselweni district. Next is the museums. Museums are special buildings because they have been built to preserve traditions and culture. The Eswatini National Museum was built in 1974 at Lobamba. Things that are displayed at the museums were used in homes and communities. My dear Lena, so now we know why museums are so special. They are so special because they have kept things that were used in the past, which means that if those things were not kept, we wouldn't be able to see them. Even our next generation will not be able to see them. But thanks to the museums, because of them, we are able to see those things. So these are the examples of the things that are kept at the museums, dear learners. Firstly, we've got sieves, as you can see. In Siswati, they are called emahluto. If we were to talk about one sieve, we will say lihluto. Sieves were used to sieve traditional brew, umqombothi. Umqombothi was the traditional brew which played a role in different ceremonies in Eswatini. For instance, during Guphahla. Next, we have clay pots, which are called tinziwo in Siswati, or called ingi longo. Then we have these buckets, which are called the wooden milking buckets. They were used for milking. Then we have spears, tikali. These spears were found at Hlatikulu. Then we have hose, which are called tinguba zana in Siswati. They were used for plowing and to pay lobola. As we know, my dear Lena, that in our culture, a male has to take a wife. Before you take the wife, you have to pay lobola for marriage. Next is the King Sobhuza II Memorial Park. My dear Lena, we should know that King Sobhuza II is the father of our present king, King Mswati III. One may wonder, why is it so special for Swazis to build a memorial park for this king? Why not the other kings? My dear Lena, this monument was built to remind Emaswati of King Sobhuza II. This king led Emaswati to independence. What is independence? To be independent is to be free, is to do whatever you want to do at whatever time you want to do that particular thing. So, my dear Lena, Emaswati once had a problem. They had a problem because they were once ruled by the British. Our kings were not allowed to rule however they wanted. They had to consult with the British. So it was difficult for Emaswati and the kings at large. So Emaswati were not comfortable with the situation. So they fought for independence. King Sobhuza II led the Emaswati to regain independence from the British. That's why he is so important in the history of Eswatini. My dear Lena, this memorial park was built in 1990 at Lobamba, next to the National Museum and the Houses of Parliament. The last one, my dear Lena, is the World War II Swazi Soldiers Monument. This monument was built in 1999. It was built to remind Emaswati of the Eswatini soldiers who died in the World War between 1939 and 1945. My dear Lena, as we know, the word world means it included the whole universe, which means that these soldiers were not only fighting for Emaswati, they were fighting for the whole world. So there were a lot of Swazi soldiers who died during that war. This monument is found in Petani near Matsapa. Now, my dear Lena, we have to look at the importance of these places in the country. One, they remind us of the past. My dear Lena, without these places, we wouldn't remember or know of what happened in the past. Also, they are used to teach future generation. My dear Lena, as I teach you today, it is because these places were preserved, and also your children will be taught about these places. Even your children, they will also be taught about these places to remind us of what happened in the past. Also, they attract tourists who bring money in the country, thus boosting the country's economy. My dear Lena, we know that even at our schools, we usually go for trips. We visit these places. Even tourists do. So what normally happens is that as these tourists visit these places, they bring in money in the country. How? They are get takings in these places. Whenever you want to visit these places, you have to fork out money. Also, they buy things as they go and visit these places. As they buy these things, they are boosting the economy of the country at the same time. Government puts out roads, water, electricity, and other services, thus improving the social life of the communities where these places are found. So, my dear Lena, if there is this historical place wherever it is a must for government to construct roads so that it will be easy for tourists to visit those places. Government also provides water and electricity because it will be difficult for tourists to visit these places if there is lack of water and electricity, because we know that we cannot live with water. Maybe electricity, but even so, electricity is important. So, as government provides these services to these special places of Eswatini, the communities as well benefit. For instance, if the community used gravel roads, they are able to access tarred roads. Even if water was scarce, now they will be able to access water and even electricity. Through what? Through these places. They benefited because of these places. If if they didn't have these places, it would be difficult for them to access all these services. Also, they provide employment to Eswatini. If we visit these places, there are people who are working there. Usually, they hire Eswatini, which means that a lot of Eswatini get employed or they get jobs because of these historical places. conclusion. In Eswatini, we have important historical places. These places are the rock paintings. Remember, the rock paintings were done by the sands. We have the Mahamba John Wesley Methodist Church. The Mahamba John Wesley Methodist Church. Then we have the museums. The King Sobhuza II Memorial Park. The King Sobhuza II Memorial Park. The World War II Swazi Soldiers Monument. My dear learner, in grade 3, we learned that we should always take care of the environment. So we have to make sure that we keep these places whenever we have visited them. My dear learner, we usually have these school trips whereby we are allowed to use water. I'm making an example. You are allowed to drink the water, but you shouldn't spill it. Also, in some areas, you may find that there is grass and some pavements. You find us playing on the grass instead of using only the pavements. In that way, we are destroying the grass, which may lead to soil erosion. Soil erosion is caused by bare soil. My dear learner, here are your questions. Name and 3 historical places in Eswatini. Name 3 historical places in Eswatini. Write 2 good things that the historical places bring to the country. Write 2 good things that the historical places bring to the country. The last question. Is there any good thing that you as a learner can do for the historical places? Is there any good thing that you as a learner can do for the historical places? Write 2 to support your thinking. Write 2 things to support your thinking. My dear learner, if you didn't hear or understand the conclusion, I may repeat it for you. In Eswatini, we have important historical places. These places are the rock paintings, the Mahamba John Wesley Methodist Church, the museums, the King Sobhuza II Memorial Park, the King Sobhuza II Memorial Park, the World War II Swazi Soldiers Monument. The World War II Swazi Soldiers Monument. In grade 3, we learned that we should always take care of the environment. So we have to make sure that we keep these places clean whenever we visited them. My dear learner, we have come to the end of our lessons. Be safe.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Nontogozo. I'm hoping that you're going to come again next time and give us another amazing lesson like this one.
I hope so. Thank you.
Okay, now if you're in Form 1, Form 2 or Form 4, do not go anywhere because Nogwazi will be back with the following subjects: additional mathematics, maths and physics. She will be back after this infomercial.
HIV kanye namalalelela.
Etindzabeni kubika phuma Pinsweli ngisemsahwe.
Government of Eswatini TV ngilingtin Phule ngambongwa Dube. Stemba bani.
A very good afternoon to our viewers. This is Eswatini TV and you are still tuned in to Home Study. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini and right now we are doing Form 1 and 2 additional mathematics with Mr. Wandile Sakolo. How are you doing this afternoon, sir?
I'm fine, Nogwazi, and how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. I understand that today we're doing statistics.
Yes, doing statistics.
Okay, what are you expecting your learner to have learned by the end of the lesson?
I'm expecting my learners to be able to interpret the frequency table.
Yes.
And to be able to calculate the mode, the median, and the mean from the frequency table.
Okay. Is there anything specifically that they're going to need for this lesson?
It is an exercise books, the pen, and the a ruler for drawing the tables.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that. Form 1s and Form 2s, I hope that you are ready for your lesson. And of course, a reminder that we are live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you have any questions, please feel free to use our WhatsApp number. Mr. Sakolo, you may please begin with your lesson.
Thank you, Nobas. Today's lesson, it is about statistics, calculating the mode, the mean, and the median from the frequency table. In our last lesson, we discussed about the mode, the mean, and the median of a small distribution. But today we are going to talk about the mode, the mean, and to calculate the mode, the mean, and the median from the frequency table. Frequency table helps to present data in a more organized and easily to read format. For instance, in a class of 30 learners, it will be easy for us to present data in a frequency table than listing all the marks one by one. Now let's look at the frequency table. In a frequency table, we have the first column which shows the variables, and the variables, it is the subject of a study. In our case, or in our example, it is the marks for the learners obtained in a test. And the second column, it shows the frequency, which is the number of learners. It is the number of learners that have scored that mark. For example, the first variable or the first mark, it is 2, and it has the frequency of 1. That means that there is only one learner who managed to score a mark of 2 in our test. And the next one, that is why the frequency, it is 1. Remember, the frequency tells us how many times does the variables appear in our distribution. Here we are talking about learners and the scores that they scored in a mathematical test. The second mark, it is 3, and its frequency, it is 2. It means that there are only 2 learners who scored the mark of 3, which means that in our distribution 2 will just appear twice. 2 will just appear twice. Now, learner, let's quickly, what is the frequency of, let's look at another example, which can be 6. What is the frequency of 6? The frequency of 6, it is 8. And what does that mean? It means that there are 8 learners who scored the mark of 8. And then that is why its frequency, it is 8. Because a frequency tells us how many times does the mark 6 appear in our distribution. Another example can be the mark of 10. Because our test is scored out of 10, and then it has a frequency of 1. That means that there's only one learner who managed to score everything in the test. Remember, our total frequency should be 30, because the study is about 30 learners. Make sure that when constructing your frequency or interpreting the frequency, the total frequency should add up to 30. Now let us look at the mode from the frequency table. In our last lesson, we discussed about the mode, that it is the variable, in our case it is the marks, that appears the most in the distribution. Now we don't have the figures, but the data is now presented in the table. And then how do we then see the mode? We see the mode that it is the variable that has the highest frequency. Now let's look at our table. In our table, the highest frequency, it is 8. And then that means that the mark that was scored by most of the learners in this class, it is a 6. That is why we are saying the mode in this class, it is mark 6. And then be careful not to mention the frequency as your mode. The mode is always from the variable, which is the marks in our case, Usually students, they tend to make the mistake of writing the frequency as their mode. Don't make that mistake. After that, we are going to discuss the median. The median, it is the meekly term or the meekly value when the distribution is arranged in order. It is the meekly term when the values are arranged in order. In order for us to find the median, in our last lesson, we arranged the values because it was just the small distribution. In today's lesson, it is the large distribution that makes it difficult to arrange the variables one by one, which is the marks. That is why we use the frequency. We use the frequency table. We have a quick way to find the median. The quick way to find the median. First, we need to find the median position. How do we find the median position? We find the median position using the formula, which is n plus 1 all over 2. The formula, which is n plus 1 all over 2, whereby n stands for the number of variables, which in our case it is a frequency table. It means that it is the total frequency plus 1 divided by 2. In our case, our total frequency, it is 30. The median position will be 30 plus 1 divided by 2, which will give us a position of 15.5 or 15 and a half. And then after you have found the position, you then in your table you insert, because you will be given the cumulative or the frequency table. You then insert a column of the position that will help you easily identify the meekly position, which we have calculated earlier on, which is 15.5. And then now, how do you position your values? In a frequency table, it is already arranged in order of size. The marks are arranged in order of size, starting from 2 to 10. That means that in order for us to find the position, we need to use the frequency. We need to use the column of frequency. As you see in your screen. And then now, the frequency, the first variable, it is mark 2. It is a student. There's only one student who scored the mark of 2. That means that 2 will occupy the first position when you arrange your values. It means that it will occupy the first position when you arrange your values. And then the next mark, when you arrange the values, it is 3. And it has the frequency of 2. The frequency of 2 means that 2 learners received the mark of 2. And it will occupy from position number 2. And the last one, it will be position number 3. How do you find the last position? You say the last position that was occupied by the previous mark, or the previous variable, plus the number or the frequency. In this case, the last position was 1, and our mark is, or our frequency for the next variable, it is 2. We say 1 plus 2, it will give us 3. That is the last position on variable 3. And then now we move on to the second one. Still bear in mind that we are looking for position 15.5. We are looking for position 15.5. We have not reached that position. We move on to the next one, the next mark, which is 4. We have the frequency of 3. The frequency of 3 means that the first position it is going to be 4, and the last position will be 3 plus 3, which is our last position for or mark number 3, which is occupied by mark 3. And then now we add that by 3. We add that by 3 to find the last position that will be occupied by 2, which will give us a 6. 3 plus 3, it gives us a 6. We move on to the next. We have not yet reached the 15th position. We move on to the next variable or the next mark, which is a 5, which has the frequency of a 5. And then that means that in order for us to find the last position for a frequency 5, we are going to say 6 plus 5. That will give us 11. And then 5 will occupy position from 7 to 11. And then we move on to the next one, because we have not yet reached our position that we want. And then the next one, it is a variable 6. A variable 6 is the frequency of 8. Is a frequency of 8. The last position in variable 6, we are going to get it by saying 11 plus 8. 11 plus 8. And then that gives us 19. It gives us 19. That means that the mark 6 will start from 12 to 19. And then now remember, we want position number 15.5. Position 15.5 will be in this range because the first one, or position number 15, it is going to be mark number 8, and position number 16, it is going to be mark number 8. That is why we are saying position 15.5, it lies between the two position, which is still in our range, because the position that will occupied by 6, it is 12 to 19. That is why our median in this case, it is a 6. Remember, the median is always from the variable. Remember, learner, the median is always from the variable. The frequency, it helps us to position our variables. And then be careful not to write the median position as your variable or as your median, because it helps us to find the position of the median. Nextly, we are going to discuss on how to calculate mean from the frequency table. We are going to discuss on how to calculate mean from the frequency table. What is mean? What is a mean? A mean is the calculation used in statistics, that is the mathematical average of a set of given numbers. It is used when analyzing examination results by exams council, and it is also used in your schools when they are calculating the class average in your reports. The class average in your report at the end of the term or the end of the year. In the end of the year. Last lesson, you calculated in your last lesson, we discussed, or you calculated the mean from the small distribution. But today we are going to calculate the mean from the large distribution. We are going to calculate the mean from the large distribution. That is why it is now presented in a frequency table. It is now presented in a frequency table. Remember, in your last lesson, you discussed that mean, it is equals to it is the sum of all the values divided by the number of values. In order for us to be able to find the sum of all the values in our frequency table, because it is a large distribution, we need then to introduce a column that will multiply the variable, which in our case it is the marks scored by the individual learner in this class, and then we multiply by each frequency. The frequency means that how many learners scored that certain mark. And then why do we do that? We do that so that we can find the sum of values. We need the table to find the sum of each variable. For example, let's look at a variable number 4. Variable number 4, it has a frequency of 3. It has the frequency of 3. It means that when we want the sum of, or the product of, or the sum and or the product of variable number 4, and when we use addition that we used in our last lesson, it means that we are going to say 4 plus 4 plus 4, because there are 3 learners who received the mark of 4 in this class, which is the same as finding the product of the mark and the number of learners who received that mark, which is going to give us the mark of 12. The mark of 12. And then now the first one, let's fill in our column, because some of the values have been done for us. Usually it will not be done for us, but because of time we have filled some of the values. And then now the first one, it is mark number 2. Mark 2, it is only received by one student or one learner. That means that it is only one or 2 in our frequency. That is why it is going to be 2 multiplied by 1, which is 2. It is going to be 2 multiplied by 1, we find 2. And then the next one, it is a variable number 3. Variable number 3, it is 3 multiplied by 2, which will give us 6, because there are 2 learners who received the mark of 3, and their sum it is 6. Their sum it is 6. And then now we move on to the next one. The next one, it is 5. It is mark 5, which is scored by 5 learners. It is scored by 5 learners. That means that in order for us to find the sum of mark 5, we are going to say 5 multiplied by 5, which will give us 25. Which will give us 25. And then from there, our main goal is to find the total number or the sum of the marks scored by the learners in this class. In order for us to find that, we need now to multiply or to add the values that we have get in this column, in order for us to find the sum. What are the values in this column? We have 6. We have 6 plus 2. 6 plus 2, it is 8. And then the next value, it is 12. And then 12 plus 8 or plus 12 plus 8, it is 8 plus 2, it is 0. And then or 8 plus 2, it is 10. And then we write 0 down, we carry 1. And then 1 plus 1, it is 2. That is why we have to write it as 2. And then now we have the value of 20. And then after that, we add the next value, which is 25. We add the next value, which is 25. And then 0 plus 5, it is 5. 2 plus 2, it is 4. That is why our total is for these 4 values, it is 45. And then now we add the next value, which is 48. The next value, which is 48. We say 5 plus 8, it is 13. We carry 1. And then from there we say 4 plus 4, it is 8. Plus 1, it is 9. The next one, it is 35. We have 35. We add 35 to 93. And then 3 plus 5, it is 8. And then 9 plus 3, it is 12. That is why now we have 128. 128. And then the next one, we are going to say 128 plus 128 plus the next value, which is 24. The next value, which is 24. And then we say 8 plus 4, it is 12. And then we carry 1. We carry 1. 2 plus 2, it is 4. Plus 1, it is 5. And then 1 plus 0, it is 1. And then now we have 152 as our sum. The next value, it is 18. We add 18 in our total of 152, and then we say 2 plus 8, it is 10. We put 0, and then we carry 1. 5 plus 1, it is 6. Plus 1, it is 7. 1 plus 0, it is 1. That is why we have 170 as our total for now. And then now we add the last value of 10. 170 plus 10. 170 plus 10. 0 plus 0, it is 0. And then 7 plus 1, it is 8. And then 1 plus 0, it is 1. That is why the total sum of the values of marks multiplied by the frequency, it is 180. It is 180. And then now we know that the total frequency, it should be 30. Why 30? It is because the values or the number of learners being studied in this class, it is 30. We know that it is 30. And then now from there, we then substitute in our formula for calculating the mean. We take these values and substitute on our formula for calculating the mean, which states that it is the sum of the variables times frequency divided by the total frequency. The sum of values, it is 180 divided by 30. 180 divided by 30, which will give us a 6. How does the 6 comes out? It is going to be 180 divided by 30. 180 divided by 30. We know that when simplifying fraction, we use the highest common factor between the numerator and the denominator. The highest common factor between the numerator and the denominator, it is 30. It is 30. And then we divide the numerator by 30 and the denominator by 30. The denominator 30 divided by 30, it is 1. And then 180 divided by 30, it is 6. 6 over 1, it is the same as 6. It is the same as 6. And then that is how we calculate the mean from the frequency table. Now let's quickly look at the second example so that we can now include all the three aspects, which is the mode, the median, and the it is the mode, the median, and the mean. And then we'll start with the mode. We said that the mode, it is the number that, it is the variable that has the highest frequency. It is the variable that has the highest frequency. Now let's identify the highest frequency in our table. The highest frequency, it is 30. It is 30. In this case, our table, it is or the first row represent the variables, the second row represent the frequency. The second row represents the frequency, and the third row, it represents the land owned. It is the row that you have to insert it yourself, because when you ask this question, you'll only be given the variable and the frequency, and the third row and the fourth row, you have to add it yourself, knowing that it is going to help you when answering the questions on median and the mean. And then now the modal mark, in this case, it is the value that has the highest frequency. The highest frequency, it is 30. The highest frequency, it is 30. And then now, but 30 is not the modal value. Always the modal is from the or is from the variables, because the frequency tells us how many times does the variable appear in the distribution. That means that our modal our modal number of hectares owned by now this man, it is 5. Our modal number of land owned, it is 5 hectares. It is 5 hectares. Now the median position. The median position, we remember we said that we have to start by finding the median position before we find the median. We say it is found by n plus 1 all over 2, whereby n stands for total frequency plus 1 divided by 2. Our total frequency in this case, it is 100. 100 plus 1, it is 101 divided by 2, it is the 50th position. Remember in our first example, we analyze how do we position in the frequency table. We know that the median is from the 5th 0.5 position. We look at our position column. We look at where will 50.5 be. It will be in this range from position 28 to 52. And then now from there, our median is 4. Our median is 4. Our median is 4. And then the last one, it is the mean. The mean, it is the sum of land owned multiplied by the frequency over the total frequency. Looking at our table, the sum of land owned multiplied by frequency, it is 424 divided by the total number of frequency, which is 100. It will give us 4.2. Our mean is 4.2. Our mean is 4.2. In today's lesson, we talked about interpreting the frequency table. Interpreting the frequency table where there is the variable and the frequency. The first column or the first row represent the variables, and the second column or the second row, depending on the kind of table that you have, it represents the frequency. And then now we talked about calculating the mean. How do we calculate the mean? We use the formula, which is the sum of values multiplied by frequency divided by the total frequency. And then the next one that we discussed, it is the mode. The mode is the variable that has the highest frequency in our distribution or in our frequency table. Lastly, we talked about calculating the median, whereby we have to start by finding the median position first, which is given by n plus 1 all over 2, and then after that we then using the frequency, we find the position of that the variable that is going to be in the matrix, and then from there we then find the position or the median from the variables. We find the median from the variables. And in the last few minutes left, you have to copy this activity and try to do it at home, finding the mode, finding the median from the frequency table or from the distribution, and then the last one, calculating the mean from the frequency table. Thank you so much. Over to you, Nowas.
Thank you so much, Wandile. Maybe to just help the learners just a little bit, since you just have 1 minute left, could you please repeat the homework for them so that they know what to write?
In your homework, you have to find the mode from the frequency table. And the second question is finding the median from the frequency table, whereby you know that you have to start by finding the position first. And then the last question is finding the mean. The mean, you find the mean by finding the sum of values, which is the sum of variables multiplied by the frequency all over, or divide by the total frequency. And that is how you are going to be able to do the homework.
All right, thank you so much, Wandile, for that lesson, and we'll be seeing you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Form 4's up next is your mathematics lesson with Mr. Nhlanhla Ngomane. We'll be right back after this.
Your favorite music show is back. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send in your shout-outs. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
Welcome back. This is Home Study on Eswatini TV, and if you have just joined us, a very good afternoon to you. This is Home Study, like I said. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini, and right now we are doing Form 4 Mathematics with Mr. Nhlanhla Ngomane, who is already with me in the studio. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Nogwazi. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well, sir. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks.
That's wonderful to hear. Today we're doing algebra. Focusing on factorizing polynomials. Am I right? Correct. Okay, what are you expecting your Form 4s to have learned by the end of the lesson?
By the end of the lesson, I expect my learner to be able to factorize a quadratic polynomial, to be able to factorize a difference of two squares, and also to perform mixed factorizations.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that, sir. Form 4s, I hope you are ready for your lesson. And another reminder that we are live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you have any questions, please feel free to use our WhatsApp number. Sir, you may please begin with your lesson.
Good day, my dear learner. In order to fully understand and follow today's lesson, you need to know the following. You need to be able to multiply two numbers, identify factors of two numbers, find the highest common factor of two numbers or expressions, expand brackets, identify factors of expressions, factorize a two-term expression, and knowledge of square numbers is going to be important in our lesson. We are going to use the following factorizing methods, and it is going to depend on the kind of polynomial being factorized. These are the sum product method, the grouping method, perfect square trinomial method, the difference of two squares, and also we are going to perform mixed factorization. my learner at home, let's start by defining what is factorization. Factorization means rewriting an expression as a product of its factors. E.g., the number 42, when factored, it is going to be 2 times 7. So we have written the number as a product of its factors, which is 2, 3, and 7. A monomial in this case is a one-term polynomial, and it is already written in terms of its factors, so there's no need to further factorize it. E.g., the expression 5h, which has got only one term, that's a monomial, my dear learner, and already it has been expressed as 5 times h, which are its factors. Then now we are going to factorize a simple binomial. A binomial is an expression that contains two terms. In this case is 3d and 8d. So when we are factorizing a binomial, we have to look at the common factor between the two terms. In this case, the common factor is 3. Then open brackets, then we say 3d divided by the 3, and the 3 is going to cancel out and we left with d. So d is going to go as our first term, plus we say 18 divided by 3, and that's going to give us 6. So 6 is going to go as our second term. So now our binomial is expressed as a product of its factors, which means it has been factorized. In the work that was done in our junior secondary, we expanded brackets in expressions such as x onto 3x minus 1, which means the term outside the bracket x is multiplying both the terms inside the brackets. So we say x times 3x to get 3x squared. Then x times negative 1 to get negative x. So the reverse of this process is called factorization, which means we are taking back this expression and writing it in terms of its factors. When we are factorizing, constants, which are numbers, and individual variables, which are vectors, are factorized separately. So when we are factorizing the expression is going to look organized and easy to read. Then let us start with the first method, factorizing a difference of two squares. This method, my dear learner, is applicable when there are two terms. The sign between them is a minus sign, and each of the two terms are perfect squares. Let's try to expand these brackets. So here we are going to multiply 3x. We are going to multiply the 3x by 3x to get 9x. Then multiply 3x by negative 5 to get negative 15x. Then we multiply 5 by 3x to get 15x. Then we multiply 5 by negative 5 to get negative 25. Then we simplify the expression. We are going to get 9x, so this term is going to cancel this term, so negative 15x plus 15x is going to be 0. Then we'll be left with 9x squared and 25x squared. So this is an example of a difference of two squares. So we've got two perfect squares, which is 9x squared and 25, and the sign in between them is a minus sign. So when the answer is factorized, when the expression is factorized, we are going to have two bracketed factors which are going to contain binomials, then one contains the sum of the square roots of the squared terms, and the other bracket is going to contain the difference of the square roots of the squared terms. So remember, my dear learner, that I said factorization is the reverse process of expanding brackets, which means when this expression is factorized, it is going to look like this one. So now let's look at the example below. Factorize 4a squared minus b squared. So we have to check our expression whether it's a difference of two squares or not. We look at the first term, 4a squared. 4a squared is 2a all squared, which means it is a perfect square. And the other term, b, is b squared, which again is a perfect square. So when we factorize that expression, we said we are going to have two bracketed factors, and then one contains the sum of the square roots of the squared term, the sum of the square roots of the squared terms. So the square root of 4a squared is 2a, and the square root of b squared is b, which means in the first bracket it goes the sum of the square roots of the squared term, so it's 2a plus b, and in the second bracket it is the difference of the square roots of the squared terms. So when factorized, it is going to look like this. So the first bracket is the sum, the second bracket is the difference. Now, my dear learner, let's look at factorizing quadratic trinomials. To factorize expressions of the form ax squared plus bx, which is a quadratic trinomial because the highest power of the variable, in this case the variable is x, the highest power is 2. So such expressions are called quadratic expressions. So when we factorize them, we find the factors of AC that add to B. So the factors of AC that add to B. And this method is called the sum product method. Let's use that method to factorize this expression. X squared plus 7x plus 12. So in this case, the a, which is the coefficient of x squared, is equals to 1. And this is the simplest form of a quadratic expression. And it is going to look like this. X squared plus bx plus c. So the coefficient of x squared is 1. So we don't normally write the coefficient if it is 1. So when you're factorizing such an expression, we have to open two sets of brackets. We have to open two sets of brackets, and then we place the factors of the first term in each set of the bracket. So we find the factors of x squared, that is going to go as the first term in each set of the bracket. So the factors of x squared is x and x. So they go as the first term of our brackets. Then now we have to find numbers that multiply to give 12, and that when you add them they give 7, which means basically we are looking for factors of 12 whose sum is 7. So here we are going to use a trial and error to find those factors. So we can start with a 1 and 12. So 1 and 12, if you add them, it is going to give you, if you say 1 plus 12, you are going to get 13. So these are not the factors we're looking for. Then we proceed. 6 times 2. So 6 and 2. If you add them, 6 plus 2, we are going to get 8. So these are not the factors we're looking for. Then now let's look at 3 and 4. So if we add 3 plus 4, we are going to get 7. So these are the factors that we are looking for, which is positive 3 and positive 4. So then we place those factors as the second term in each of the brackets. So one factor is positive 3, so it's going to be plus 3. And the other factor is positive 4, which is, yes, Nogwazi.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I have just one question for you. What if it's the other way around? What if it's 4 and 3 and not 3 and 4?
Okay, Nogwazi. If it is 3 and 4, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can put you can put the 3 in one bracket, the 4 in the other bracket, and you can do vice versa. It doesn't matter because it's a multiplication.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that.
So we're saying one factor goes in the other bracket and the other factor goes in the other bracket. So we have x, the other factor is plus 4. So when fully factorized, it's going to look like this: x plus 3 multiplying by x plus 4. So we have written the expression x squared plus 7x plus 12 as a product of its factors. My dear learner, you have to be careful if the constant term, the c, is either negative or the b is negative. In that case, the factors, one is going to be positive and the other is going to be negative. Now let's look at factorizing a perfect square trinomial. This method is used if the first term and the last term are perfect squares and the middle term is twice the product of their square roots. Let us expand these two brackets to see what expression we get. So if we expand a plus b times a plus b, we are going to get a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So if we look at the first term, it is a squared term because we said a perfect square, the first and the last terms are perfect squares. So the first term, a squared, is a perfect square. We look at the last term is a perfect square. Then the square root of a squared is equals to a, and the square root of b squared is equals to b. Is equals to b. So if we multiply a by b and multiply that by 2, we get 2ab, which means indeed our expression is a perfect square because the middle term is indeed twice the product of the square root of the squared terms. So now let us factorize this expression: 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 using the perfect square trinomial rule. So here we have to test the first term whether it's a perfect square or not, and the last term whether it's a perfect square or not. So 4x squared is 2x all squared, so it means it's a perfect square. 9 is equals to 3 squared, which means it's also a perfect square. Then we have to test the middle term. We find the square root of 4x squared, which is 2x, and find the square root of 9, which is 3. Then we multiply that by 2, and when we do that we get 12x, which is equals to the middle term. So indeed our expression is a perfect square trinomial. So remember the result here. When expanding a brackets, we get this expression. So we said factorizing is the reverse of doing that, which means when a perfect square trinomial is factorized, you are going to get repeated factors. So it means this case is going to be repeated factors. So it's going to be the square root of the first term, which we have found to be 2x. So it's 2x. Because the sign of the middle term is minus, it's going to be minus. The square root of the last term is 3. So it's going to be minus 3. So we said we are going to get repeated factors. So it's going to be 2x minus 3 onto 2x onto 2x minus 3. And that is going to simplify to 2x minus 3 all squared. Remember, a times a is equals to a squared. So we have applied that here. So when fully factorized, this expression is going to be like that. Now we are going to look at the grouping method. This method is usually applicable if there are 4 terms, but they can be more than 4 terms. Sometimes it is necessary to rearrange the expressions being factorized before the grouping. It is also used to factorize expressions of this form. Let's look at the following example. Factorize this expression. So when you use the method of grouping, we group adjacent terms with a common factor. So in this case, we can see that the first 2 terms have got a common factor, which is 3a. And then the last 2 terms has also got a common factor. So we group those terms together, like we have done here, the first 2 terms, and then we group the last 2 terms together. Then we have to factorize each group separately. So we start with the first group. We find the common factor between 3ax and 6ay, and that common factor is 3a. Then we factor it out. Then inside brackets we are going to have x plus 2y. We do the same with the second bracket. We find the common factor between 4x and 8y, and that common factor is 4. So it is going to be factored out, and then inside the brackets we are going to have x plus 2y. Then, my dear learner, we notice that x plus 2y and x plus 2y in this second term is common. So since it is a common factor, then we factor it out. So we're going to have x plus 2y. So we factor it out, and then what is going to be left is 3a plus 4. So our expression now is fully factorized. So our expression is fully factorized, and it's going to look like that. Then let's look at another example. Factorize 2x squared plus 9x minus 9. So this, my dear learner, is a quadratic expression which we are going to factorize by grouping. So here we have to find the factors of a, c, which in this case gives us negative 10, that add to 9. So the factors of a, c that add to give are 9. So these factors are negative 10. These factors are negative 1 and 10. So let's check whether the factors are correct. If we multiply them, negative 1 times 10, it gives us negative 10, which means it is correct. And then negative 1 plus 9, it gives us, negative 1 plus 10, it gives us 9, which means our factors are correct. Remember, they have to add to 9. Then we are going to split the middle term. We are going to split the middle term and write it in terms of these factors. So the middle term is 9x. So we're going to split it and write it in terms of the factors that we have found, and it's going to be negative 1x plus 10x. So this is our weekly term. Then we use the grouping method. So we are going to have 2x squared plus 9x minus 9 is equals to 2x. Then this is the weekly term. We have splitted it, minus 5. Then now we can use the grouping method. So here we are going to group adjacent terms that have got a common factor. So in this case, the first two has got a common factor, so we group them together. And then the last two has got a common factor too, we group them together. Then we factorize each group separately. So we find the common factor between the first two terms, which is x. Then inside bracket we left with 2x minus 1. And then in the second group, we find the common factor, which is 5, and inside we have 2x minus 1. And again, we realize that we've got a common factor of 2x minus 1 in each of the term. So we factor it out, so it's 2x minus 1. Then here we'll be left with x, so it goes as a first term in the other bracket, then plus 5. So our expression is fully factorized, and it's going to look like this. We can also use the table of products method to factorize the same expression. So in this case, we draw a table with 2 rows and a number of columns. In the first row, we have the factors of the first term, which is 2x and x. And then in the subsequent columns, we have the factors of the last term. So in this case, we've got negative 5, 1, and so on. Then to find the factors to factorize it, we find the factors of the first and the last term that add to give the weekly term. So in this case, the pattern goes like this. So we multiply this with that, so we are going to give 2x, then we multiply x, and negative 5 is going to be negative 5x, and that's going to give us negative 3x, which is not what we are looking for. Then we go to the next one. 2x times 5 is going to be 10x. X times negative 1 is negative x. That's going to give us 9x. So indeed, these are the factors we're looking for. Then when we are factorizing it, we're going to have 2 sets of brackets, and then in each bracket we put factors in the same column, which is going to be 2x minus 1, and then in the other is going to be 2x plus 5. So it is fully factorized. My dear learner, we have a mixed factorization. In that case, you have to first find the highest common factor, factor it, find the highest common factor, and you factor it out. Then you can follow the series of steps and factorize the resulting expression inside brackets using the methods that we have learned before. In conclusion, my dear learner, we have factorized expressions of the form x plus bx plus c using the sum product method. We have used the grouping method to factorize expressions of the form ax plus bx plus c, where a is not equals to 1, and we also use it to factorize expressions with 4 terms. We also factorize the difference of 2 squares. We also factorize a perfect square trinomial, and my dear learner, we have also shown you how to perform a mixed factorization by first taking out the highest common factor first. Unfortunately, my dear learner, this brings us to the end of our lesson today. I hope you are able to follow the lesson, and if you have any questions, you have to post them as text message in the WhatsApp number that has been given. For exercises you can do this. It is extracted in your Prism Alive Book 4. So the same questions, you can find them in your Prism Alive Book 4 for those who have them. Thank you, my dear Lena. Back to you, Nogwazi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ngumane. From Force, remember, Prison Alive Book 4. Thank you so much. We hope we'll be seeing you soon.
Definitely.
All right. Form 4s, please do not go anywhere, because up next is physics with Mr. Mduduzi Shabangu, and the topic today is mass, weight, and force. We will be right back after this.
Eswatini, your favorite show, is back. The Spotlight Season 2 returns with an exciting new twist. We are taking the kingdom's #1 music talent search digital. One lucky winner will drive away in a brand new Kia Picanto, get a recording deal, and walk away with fantastic prizes, including a trendy Huawei P40 Pro. This year, the application process has been made better, easier, and brighter. To apply, simply follow the application process on the Spotlight and MTN Eswatini social media platforms. And remember to download the Ayoba and Music Time apps on your mobile device to complete your registration into the Spotlight Season 2. Visit yellowhub.co.sz/the-spotlight/apply. The audition dates are as follows: Manzini, 26 September to the 1st of October. Shiselweni, the 3rd to the 8th of October. Hoho, 10th to the 15th of October. Lubombo, 17th to the 22nd of October. Shine bright like the star that you are on the Spotlight Season 2.
Welcome back, and a very good afternoon if you have just joined us. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini. This is Home Study on Eswatini TV, and right now we are doing physics with Mr. Mduduzi Shabangu for the Form 4s, who is already with me in the studio. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Afternoon, Nogwazi.
Are you doing well today?
Yes, I'm doing very well. I'm fine.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
It's lovely to hear that. The Form 4s are doing physics today, and the topic is mass, weight, and force.
Yes, it is.
Okay. What are you expecting your Form 4s to have learned by the end of the lesson?
I'm expecting by the end of this lesson they should be able to define mass, weight, and elasticity.
Okay.
Then they should be able to calculate the weight of a body from its mass. Then they should be able to calculate, to plot and interpret an extension load graph.
Okay.
Yes, that's all.
That's all for today.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Form 4s, I hope you are ready for your lesson, sir. You may please begin.
Okay. So learners, viewers at home, it is important that before we continue, you know why it is important that we do this topic. Mass is used to determine the health status of infants. Number 2, forces are used to make things to move and to stop moving. Springs in vehicles are used to absorb shocks, and springs are used again to keep our bodies fit. Then there are new words that we are going to meet in this particular topic. The first one being inertia, another one will be force of gravity, elasticity, extension, and limit of proportionality. Now, viewers at home, we have to start by defining mass. Mass is defined as the measure of the amount of matter in a body. Then the SI unit of mass is the kilogram, which its symbol is kg. The other common units which are used for measuring mass, we have got the milligram, we have got the grams, we have got the tons. Instruments that are used to measure the mass are the triple beam balance and the top hand balance and the lever arm. At the bottom of the screen you can see this is the triple beam balance and this is the electronic balance. Now, viewers at home, mass has got another very important property which is called inertia. What is inertia? Viewers at home, inertia is the property of mass to resist change in motion. So there are two facts that we have to know about this property. For an object that is at rest, which is stationary, it takes a force to make it to move. And secondly, for a moving object, it takes a force for it to go faster, that is to accelerate, to go slower, that is to decelerate, and to come to rest. Then the last one, it needs a force again to change direction. So, viewers at home, all objects resist change in motion. This is caused by inertia, the property of mass. Inertia can be observed in some everyday activities, like the one that is shown on the screen. We have got here a bus which is moving forward, and on this bus we have got this passenger here who is holding something on top, and as this bus pulls off from a bus stop, this passenger here experiences a backward force. You can see the passenger here is leaning backward. This is due to inertia, which makes the passenger to resist to move. On the second diagram, again here, still on the screen, we have got this driver who is driving this particular vehicle. Unfortunately for this driver, the driver has not buckled up. If this particular driver is involved in a head-on collision accident, the driver will be thrown forward. You can see the driver is moving forward. This is due to inertia. So the driver of this car resists to stop moving. That's why the driver moves forward. So it is important that each time we are driving vehicles or we are in a vehicle, we buckle it up to prevent accidents like this one. Now, viewers at home, how can inertia be demonstrated in a school laboratory? Okay, to do that thing, you'll need this bottle of tomato sauce and a smooth card that will be placed on top of its mouth. Then on top of the card you have to place this coin. With your finger you have to flick the card away. Then what you are going to observe is that the coin will drop into the bottle. This is because of inertia. The coin resists to move. Now, viewers at home, we have to move again to another topic, which is weight. What is weight? Weight is the pull of the earth on an object caused by the force of gravity. Force of gravity is the force that exists between the earth and any object on or near the surface of the earth. Weight, viewers at home, is measured in newtons. The instrument that is used for measuring force, viewers at home, it is the spring balance. Sometimes it is called the Newton meter or the force meter. In this particular diagram, you can see the spring balance here being used to measure the weight of this particular parcel. So the force of gravity is denoted by this arrow here, which is pulling the parcel downwards. Then the force that is exerted by the force of gravity is measured by the spring balance, and the reading is shown here, which is 5.3 newtons. Now, viewers at home, the weight of an object varies from planet to planet, which means you can leave planet Earth to another one, the force of the weight changes. Now, the force of gravity on any object near the Earth's surface, it is 10 newtons for every kilogram of its mass. We say that the gravitational field strength of the Earth near its surface is 10 newtons per kilogram, which is normally given as G is equal to 10 newtons per kilogram. Now, viewers at home, we need again to know how to calculate the weight of the body. This is done by using this particular formula. What does this formula stands for? The W here stands for weight in newtons. The M here stands for mass in kilograms. Then the G is the gravitational field strength. If it is on Earth, it will be 10 newtons. If it is on Moon, it will be 1.6 newtons per kilogram. So, I need to show you, viewers at home, how you can use the formula W is equal to mg to calculate weight. The first one here, it says calculate your weight if your mass is 54 kilogram. How are you supposed to do that? There are 3 steps that you have to do for that one. The first thing that you have to do, you have to write this formula. W is equal to mg. Then after that, you need to substitute. So the value for m will be 54 kilogram. Then you have to multiply that thing by the value of G, which is 10 newtons per kilogram. So viewers at home, if your weight is 54 kilogram, if your mass is 54 kilogram, then your weight will be 540 newtons. The second question here, it says the weight of an iron bar on the moon is 120 newtons. So you are now asked here to calculate the mass of the iron bar on the moon. Again, here it is very important to follow the 3 steps. Number 1, you have to write this formula. W is equal to mg. So because you are looking for the mass, you need to transpose. You have to make m the subject of the formula. So when this formula has been transposed, m now here has been made the subject of the formula. It will be equal to W, which is the weight, divided by G. So now you substitute. Our weight here, our weight is 120 newtons as it is from the question. Then the gravitational field strength on the moon, it is 1.6 newtons per kilogram. So if you do your calculation that for this one, viewers at home, you will find that the mass of the iron bar on the moon, it will be 75 kilograms. Now, viewers at home, again, we have got another challenge here whereby you have to compare masses or weights using a balance. To do that thing, viewers at home, there are 2 facts that you have to take into consideration. So, if we have got 2 objects that have got the same mass, the beam of the balance will be level. This is the beam I'm talking about here. It should be level, as you can see here. So again, the second fact, it says for two objects of different masses, the end of the beam supporting the larger would drop and the other end would rise. So with these two facts, we can use it to find the mass of the unknown object. So on this balance here that I have got this stone here, which is unknown. So when you put the stone here on this pen here will go down, it will drop because there is nothing on this side. Then you have now to use standards of known masses to try and balance the beam. So in this particular case, you have to put the standard masses on this side. These are the standard masses. So at the end, when the beam is level, as you can see here, now it means that the mass of the unknown stone is equal to the sum of these masses. In this particular case, you have got 500 grams plus 200 grams. When you add this thing together, you'll find the mass of this will be 1,200 grams, which is equal to 1.2 kilograms. Now, viewers at home, we are moving to another topic, which says a force may stretch or compress an object like a spring, which means a force may bring about a change in size. So springs can be stretched or can be compressed. Why is that so? Springs are elastic. So what is elasticity, viewers at home? Elasticity is the ability of an object or material to regain its normal shape after being stretched or compressed. This thing is very common in springs and rubber bands and other materials. So viewers at home, the difference between the stretched length and the unstretched length of an object is called the extension. An experiment, viewers at home, can be done to investigate how an extension of an elastic object, to show how an extension of an elastic object depends on the stretching force, which is the load. So to carry out that experiment, you need a setup like this one, whereby you have got the retort stand, which you all know, you have got the meter ruler, then you'll need your spring here and the slot test masses here. So the first thing that you have to do before you start doing the investigation, you have to measure the length of the spring, which we call it the initial length. So the initial length will be the length of the spring where no mass is hung on the spring. Then after that, the spring here will be stretched by hanging the slot test masses, which are shown here, of different mass increments of 100 from this lower end of the spring, and the corresponding length of the spring is measured each time using a ruler calibrated in millimeter or centimeter, and the length of the spring should be recorded in the table of results. Viewers at home, what you will observe is that as the load stretching the force increases, the spring stretches more, and the load is 1 Newton for every 100 gram mass hung on the spring. Now, in this particular diagram here, it will show you how you are going to get the extension of the spring. So here you have got your slotted masses here, then you have got the length of the spring with this mass. This is the initial length which you got earlier, then this is the extension that you want. So to get this extension here, you have to say 1, the length of the spring, minus the initial, the value that you are going to get there, it will be the extension, which means you have to do that thing for each and every result that is recorded on the table. So below now I've got a typical table that you can obtain from this one. So we have got here, the first one here, you have got no mass that is which is being hung on the spring, and the initial length of the spring is 25 millimeters. Then you have got the first load which is being hung on the spring. Now to get the 1 newtons, you know earlier on we say to calculate weight, you say W is equal to mg. So to get this 1 newton, the first thing that you have to do, you have to change the 100 grams to kilograms. Then you can substitute it in the formula. You are going to get the 1 kilogram. So the important thing is we have to find the extension. So in this particular case, in the first row, you can see that when no mass is hung, the length of the spring is 25 and the extension is 0. When 100 gram mass or 1 newton mass is hung on the spring, the length of the spring will be 30 millimeters. So to get this 5, you say 30 minus 25, you'll get this 5. And again, to get this 10, you will say 35 minus 25, you get this 10. Then at the end, when you have completed the table, you have to plot your results. So the next slide now shows what you are going to see when you are plotting your results. So the values that you will choose before the experiment, you put it on the horizontal axis. So on the horizontal axis you have got the load. Then on the vertical axis you have got the extension in millimeters. Then you plot your points in a graph like this one. What you are going to observe in this graph is that the graph starts from the origin. Then from this point to this point to the 4 newton, you'll get a straight line. So you'll get a straight line. So what does that thing shows? It shows that the stretching force, which is this one, is directly proportional to the extension. So that it means that each time you increase the load, the extension increases. That's why you get a straight line up to this point. Then what you have noticed that beyond this 4 newton here, when you add an extra mass, now the curve curves upwards here. So what does this? It means that you have gone beyond the limit of proportionality, which in this particular case the limit of proportionality is here. And this thing, it shows that the spring has been damaged. Now it has lost its elasticity, which means even if you can stretch it, it will no longer go back to its original shape or length. Now, dear learners at home, I have got some examples which you can use to find certain answers from the graph. The first one, viewers at home, it says use the graph to find the extension of the spring if the load was hung on the spring. Now, the second question, it says calculate the length of the spring, say if the force is hung on if the same force is hung on the spring. How do you do that one, viewers at home? So on the horizontal axis, you look for your 2.4 here, then you have to draw this vertical line until you reach the point, the graph there. Then you have to draw another horizontal line up to the vertical axis. Then you have to take your readings on this side. So on this side, you'll find the reading is 12 centimeters. So the 12 centimeter that you'll get there is the extension of the spring. So if you are asked, viewers at home, to use the graph, please indicate on the graph to show how you arrived at your answer. Now, the next point will say, if maybe you are asked to find the length of the spring. So in that particular case, it's easy to find the length of the spring, because if the extension is 12 centimeter, you simply add the initial length of the spring, which was 25 centimeter, then you'll get the answer, which is 37 centimeter for the length of the spring. So viewers at home, this is what we have learned so far in this particular topic. The first point that we learn here, viewers at home, is that mass is the measure of the amount of matter in a body measured in kilogram. The second point is that inertia is the property of mass that resists change in motion. The third one is that the formula for calculating weight is W is equal to mg. Then elasticity is an ability of an object or material to regain its normal shape after being stretched or compressed. The extension of the material, elastic material at any stage is its length at that stage minus its initial length. Then the last point is extension of a spring is directly proportional to the applied force. Please remember to use this word when you are describing. Thank you, viewers at home. That's the end of the lesson for today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shabangu, for that, and we are hoping to see you soon for more physics.
Yes.
And we're hoping that the Form 4s actually learned something today on physics.
So.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, viewers at home, please do not go anywhere. Lerato and myself will be right back after this.
It is important every now and then to check, am I still in the receiving hand of God, or am I in the receiving hand of the lies from the enemy?
Salvation is free because Christ paid for everything, and that's true. But discipleship will cost you everything.
Love each other as if your life depends on it.
As a canvas reflects the nature of a personality or an artist, so creation teaches us about who God is.
We are made great by becoming small. We are exalted when we're humble.
Welcome back to Home Study. Unfortunately, that was the last lesson for the day. We hope that you had a beautiful day, besides the cold, of course. But it does anything for you guys because you're at home, really comfortable and warm. How was your day?
I wish I could say it was not fun, but it was okay. It was really good.
Yeah, as always. It's always good. And what does tomorrow's lineup look like for our learners back at home?
Okay, learners, from 2 p.m. until 2:30 p.m, the grade 0s are going to be learning with teacher Nontetelelo Ndlovu. From 2:30 p.m. until 3 p.m, the grade 1s and 2s are learning Siswati. From 3 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. the grade 5s and 6s are learning Siswati. From 3:30 p.m. until 4 p.m. the Form 1s and 2s are learning Siswati again. From 4 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. the Form 4s are learning religious education. The last subject for tomorrow for the Form 4s is Siswati from 4:30 p.m. until 5 p.m.
Yes, of course, that is what your Thursday looks like, guys, at home. And just a reminder that from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. Monday to Fridays, we are live on YouTube and on Facebook. And of course, a reminder that please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and do not forget to click on that subscribe button so you get any notifications that you might have.
Also, we have a WhatsApp number which pops up from time to time on your screens, so do not forget to contact us on that WhatsApp number, and please ask questions as relevant as possible. Do not call, do not send voice notes, just text us, please.
Yes, of course, emphasis on that. Do not call us, do not send voice notes, because we would love to answer, but we won't be able to. Of course, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you guys 2 p.m. sharp tomorrow. A beautiful Thursday. Have a lovely Wednesday evening.
From me, Nogwazi, your Wednesday crushes every day. We'll see you guys tomorrow 2 p.m. sharp. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Eswatini, your favorite show, is back. The Spotlight Season 2 returns with an exciting new twist. We are taking the kingdom's #1 music talent search digital. One lucky winner will drive away in a brand new Kia Picanto, get a recording deal, and walk away with fantastic prizes.